silver would eventually wake up from its slumber and take the lead and outperform gold. And that is exactly what it's doing. That's why I've been so bullish on silver, and I've been recommending that all of the Schiff Gold customers buy silver too, not just gold. In fact, I've been recommending more silver than gold this year for the specific reason that silver was so cheap and you had a long way to go to catch up. Now, it's still cheap. Clearly not as cheap as it was, but I think we have tremendous upside potential. I think silver could trade $100 an ounce by next year. I don't expect gold to make that large a percentage move, although I do expect gold to be above 5,000. We could have a huge move up in gold and silver on Monday, so don't wait for Monday, right? You want to buy Friday, you want to buy Saturday, even Sunday up to the afternoon.
Peter Schiff has long argued that silver would eventually break out of its lengthy consolidation and begin leading the precious metals complex, and that moment has clearly arrived. His view is rooted in a simple market imbalance. Silver spent years trading far below its historical relationship to gold, creating an explosive setup once investors shifted their attention. That gap is now closing, yet Schiff believes the larger move is still ahead. With silver finally asserting leadership, he sees the metal reaching $100 as early as next year, driven by tightening supply, expanding demand, and accelerating capital rotation. Gold, meanwhile, remains strong in its own right, with a path above $5,000 becoming increasingly realistic. Schiff emphasizes urgency, noting that weekend buying can sometimes front-run Monday price gaps. The current phase, he argues, rewards early accumulation, not hesitation. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to hit that like button, share it with fellow investors who follow gold and silver, and subscribe so you don't miss the next big update.
Silver ended a great week and a great month, up over $3 an ounce, new all-time record high. We're trading above 56.30. I think I just saw it trade above 56.40. I was watching March futures, and there the contract was trading well north of $57. So we're blowing through the high. The previous record high that we set about a month ago or so was around 54.40-ish. So we went right through that, through the 55 handle, and then through the 56 handle. Gold, not too shabby either, up better than $60. I think I just saw it up $65, trading at $4,220. It's not a new record high, but it's getting close, probably on a monthly basis, because this is the last day of November. And on a monthly basis, it probably is a new high for the month. In fact, it may even be a new high for the week. I'm pretty sure that it is. In fact, looking at how the precious metals have performed, silver up 6% today, which is, startling by itself, but it's up 13% on the week, 16.5% during the month of November. What a November to remember. But I think we may get an even more memorable December, because I think we're going to get a big follow through. Year to date, silver is now up 95%. Think about that. And the year isn't even over. We still have another month. So I think we're going to end up with a double in the price of silver in 2025. Gold up about 1.3%. Today, on the month, up more than 6%, and on the year, still up better than 60%. But silver is now outperforming gold year to date by about 50%. Now, this is something I have long been forecasting on my podcast and on these weekly market wraps. I've been saying that silver would eventually wake up from its slumber and take the lead and outperform gold, and that is exactly what it's doing. That's why I've been so bullish on silver, and I've been recommending that all of the Schiff Gold customers buy silver too, not just gold. In fact, I've been recommending more silver than gold this year for the specific reason that silver was so cheap and you had a long way to go to catch up. Now, it's still cheap. Clearly not as cheap as it was, but I think we have tremendous upside potential. I think silver could trade $100 an ounce by next year. I don't expect gold to make that large a percentage move, although I do expect gold to be above 5,000 next year. So both metals should still be purchased, but I still think that even with this move, you still want to make sure and be buying some silver along with your gold. And the fact that silver is now leading gold higher, this is very bullish. This means that the precious metals bull market is much stronger, because in the past, gold was leading silver. In fact, it was dragging silver, almost kicking and screaming like it didn't even want to go up. And that was one of the negative divergences in the precious metal space. People would be doubting the gold market because they weren't getting the confirmation from silver. Well, now we've got that and then some. We've got silver even stronger than gold. That's what you want. This new leg of the precious metals bull, which is being led by silver, is going to be even stronger. So gold is going to make even bigger gains now following silver than it did when it was leading silver. And the other divergence was the failure of the mining stocks to perform. Well, that's all changed.
Silver just closed out one of its strongest months in history, with prices slicing through previous records and pushing deep into the mid-$56 range. The momentum has been relentless. Double-digit gains for the week, nearly 17% for November, and now a near 100% surge year-to-date. Gold has also held firm with solid monthly strength, but the spotlight belongs to silver. As Peter Schiff has been warning for months, the metal has finally broken out of its long consolidation and begun leading the entire precious metals complex higher. The shift from laggard to leader marks a powerful confirmation of the broader bull market structure. With silver now outperforming gold by a wide margin, the setup suggests that this next phase may unfold faster and more aggressively than before. Let's get into the interview.
The GDX up 13% on the week. The GDXJ up 16.3%. But more important, the year-to-date gains in the GDX at 145% and the GDXJ 157%. That's why in Q1 of this year, if you remember, I came out with a special report, the best way to buy gold, and it was to buy the mining stocks. And at that point, the mining stocks had barely moved on the year. And now we've got this spectacular gain, because it was crazy to me that we had $3,000 gold, yet the gold stocks had made no progress since 2000. We had a 50% increase in the price of gold, and the miners had barely moved. I knew they would catch up, and they have caught up. But more significantly for gold and silver is the fact that the gold and silver mining stocks were lagging, right? They were not confirming the move in gold. That was a negative before. Just like silver wasn't validating gold's new highs, neither were the mining stocks. And a lot of people looked at the mining stocks as an indicator, and they didn't believe that the gold rally was real because they weren't seeing it priced in to the mining stocks. And I kept saying that you should ignore the weakness in the mining stocks because they reflect the views of the Wall Street analysts who didn't understand why gold was going up, and they didn't expect it to keep rising. And so they didn't factor higher earnings into the gold stocks. In fact, because they all expected gold prices to collapse, they thought that the gold stocks would go down even more. And so that's what kept them on the sideline. But now it's clear that we have confirmation. The gold stocks are not lagging. They're also leading. They're now outperforming gold, which is exactly what should be the case in a healthy bull market. So we've moved from the early stages where it's just complete denial to the next stage. We're not even near the final stage. So don't even think that, oh, it's too late to get in. You know, now it's a blow off top. We're years away from that. Gold, silver firing on all cylinders, massive bull market, new record highs in silver, soon to have record highs in gold. In fact, even though we've had this surge in the gold and silver stocks with the GDX and GDXJ up, 145 and 157% respectively, neither of those indexes has hit new highs. Now, there are many individual gold and silver stocks that did hit new highs today, but the broad indexes did not. I expect that to happen probably next week. But in the meantime, everything that's happened, it couldn't be more bullish if I had just scripted it myself. And the fundamentals, the Fed is about to cut interest rates again in December when it should be hiking. Rates are already too low, and they're going to make them even lower. This is extremely bullish. So you have these bullish fundamentals You have incredible technicals. I mean, there are no charts that look better than the charts of silver. I mean, it's, in no man's land, right? There's zero resistance. It's broken out of a massive double top that started in 1980 and then again in 2011. And now we've blown through that $50 top. We're more than 10% above that massive overhead resistance with no additional resistance anywhere in sight. So you've got all the central bank buying that's going to continue into 2026. You've got more central banks that probably weren't buying that are going to start buying. The banks that have been buying are going to buy more.
Mining stocks have finally surged into full confirmation mode after months of hesitation. With GDX and GDXJ posting explosive gains this week and triple-digit gains year-to-date, the sector is now signaling what the underlying metals have been telling us all year. This bull market is real, broad, and strengthening. As Peter Schiff has emphasized, the miners had been lagging even as gold broke new ground, creating doubt among analysts who assumed the rally couldn't last. That hesitation has now flipped into aggressive upside, with mining indexes outperforming the metals themselves, exactly what a healthy cycle should look like. Silver has already cleared decades of resistance, gold is closing in on its own breakout, and central bank demand is accelerating into 2026. Momentum, fundamentals, and technicals are finally aligned. If this gave you value, smash that like button, share it with those paying attention, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Stay alert, stay prepared, and keep stacking tangible assets.